Big man in a suit of armor. Take that off, what are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel Fan Site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for these issues we're going to go through. So I'm continuing Denny O'Neil's run through Iron Man. I really did a piss poor job when I first started this channel, and I really skipped around. And I think this series, this run, actually deserves a deeper dive. Now, unlike some of the other issues where I just sort of read along, we're gonna kind of just give you the plot because I'm gonna do 5 videos or 5 issues at a time, kind of as a trade paperback. So we're gonna be doing the Invincible Iron Man 171, 172, 173, 174, and 175. So 5 issues. These are from 1983. James Rhodes has become Iron Man, and he's going to be taking on Thunderball. It's the new Iron Man's first all-out slugfest, and Thunderball is determined to make it his last. I used to have the original issues. Unfortunately, I have no idea where they went, but I do have the trade paperbacks currently. Ball and Chain is our title. The team is basically the same as the last ones. I do have playlist. Feel free to check it out if you would like. Denny O'Neil, rest in peace, my man. Did a really good job. Had a very good run on Iron Man where he kind of went into the whole alcoholic. He really went down that rabbit hole when Bob Layton and David McLeany did their run. It was very short. It was really hard, like how they really the demon in the bottle. It felt rushed. Denny O'Neil really took his time and really did an excellent job. So this run is underrated in my opinion. So Luke McDonell, this is as far as I know, this is one of the only things he ever did. I had never heard of him other than this. Steve Mitchell actually was the inker for Norm Brayfogle in Detective Comics and Batman. Mark Renwell, also rest in peace, was a longtime editor and writer of Captain America. So this will be sort of the same creative team for all 5 issues. So, all right, we got Thunderball here, and you can see him making a wreck. He is looking for someone. He goes, where are they? Great panel here. This looks really cool. And like where are who? He's like looking for his ex-girlfriend Rhonda. She married she married that cop instead of me. And the guy goes, they checked out this morning. And Thunderball asks why, and they said they didn't like the decor. And Thunderball goes, I don't either, and smashes through the door. And Thunderball is like, tell him. And the guy's like, enjoy your stay. So now we're having Morley. He's helping Jim Rhodes take the Iron Man, helping him train on how to do the Iron Man. And so he's practicing on it. Here you can see him use the repulsor on this boulder, and then he smashes it to bits here. He wants to get comfortable behind, so practice is the best way for him. You know, he's a pilot, so being Iron Man is basically a new gig for him. And even here he says, without you to figure out the various gadgets work the tin suit would be no more than a set of chrome long johns. So and Morley says whoever designed this is a genius. So and Rhodey agrees here, putting it back in the briefcase. During this era, the briefcase is how this was. So they're gonna get into Rhodey's car. He goes, "Can you drop me in a bus station?" He needs to go to Niagara Falls, and he's gonna meet his sister. And he goes, "She's the real brains of the family." And because Jim was very impressed with Morley, he's like, "This dude is so smart." And Jim says, "You know what? I want to meet her too. So forget the bus. I'll go over there. It's only like 3 hours." And he goes, "I'll drive you. Stark International can spare me for the afternoon." Oh boy. So, as I mentioned before, I do have some playlists, so you can feel free to check out the previous 10 issues. I have covered them. And he goes here. Tony's here, and he's feeling very guilty. He gave up being Iron Man, is letting Rhodey handle it, but he is no longer with Stark International. His VP Yvette Averill is the one that's taken over, and he's like, "Gosh, he's been hitting the bottle too hard, and perhaps he should, not drink today." But then, this lady comes in. Her name is Heather, bringing room service, and Tony's like, "I don't remember ordering room service." Of course, they were drunk here. And this guy's like, I love that, even always for tips. So he's gonna hand him some money here, and it's $100. The dude's like, "Thank you." And so he drinks. He starts drinking early in the morning. He wasn't hungry, and they're like, "That's okay. We'll just drink." And so Tony goes, he's had a lot on his mind, and there's a storm coming, so they're going to stay in, and he's like, "That is fine for me." And so now we are back in New York. During this time, Tony was in New York. So Thunderball is making a wreck at a local plant here, and he's getting all these people out, or the guards are trying to keep him out, and he's like, "Yeah, you can't." So Thunderball is one of those C-list villains, but he's part of the wrecking crew. Anyway, so he comes through, and this is Morley's sister, Clytemnestra, and she's gonna have a really big. She is going to turn her. As you see all this here throughout. She's gonna be a big time character. Particularly when David Michelini, depending on how you want to pronounce it, and Bob Layton retake over. I've actually covered those issues that are in the playlist. And so she's kind of like, you're in the wrong place for a costume party. And he's like, "Don't mock me, woman. You are warned." And so he says, "Call the radio and television. Tell them Thunderball has an announcement." And on the radio, as you can see, it's starting to rain here. They hear that Thunderball is holding people hostage, including Dr. Clytemnestra Irwin, the scientist, conducting tests. And Morley's like, "That maniac's holding my sister." And so Jim Rhodes then says, "Well, we're going to have to do something." So he changes into his Iron Man costume. Now, these are a couple of really good panels here. Kind of, he's still trying to get the hang of this here. And love the screen tones being applied here. And I like this. I've got a date with a Thunderball here. So the press is gathered here, and he's like, wants his ex-girlfriend here. So this is what it is all about. He's like, "I want to see her. I want a chance to convince her how wrong she is about me. And if I don't get it, I'll make this place a pile of rubble." Yeah, that ought to do it. So, all right. Of course, Clytemnestra's like, this plant provides power to 4 states. So if he, if he destroys that, there's going to be a huge blackout here. And he goes, "You two can take off. I made my point. The press, to the press. I don't need hostages." So Cly is like, "I'd rather stick around, big boy. It's not every day that a hometown girl like me gets to watch a real supervillain strut his stuff." Of course, this guy's taking off, but what she's really trying to do is make sure that she can minimize the damage here. So here comes Iron Man, and off he goes, and we're gonna have a little bit of a fight here. And so look at this. This is a really nice panel. And Luke McDonell has really grown on me. When I first did these videos, I didn't give him the credit that I should have given him. So that's kind of why I'm going back here. And so we're going to have a bit of a fight here. And you see all this expensive equipment here that is being destroyed. That can't be good here. So, all right. And Cly's like, "Enough, you two need to cool it down." She's like, this, you can't destroy this place here. And so Cly has an idea here. She's like, "How about instead of destroying this facility, we find Rhonda?" And Iron Man is like, this guy's a fugitive. And she's like, "We'll deal with it after." All right. And then I absolutely love this image. Goodness gracious, that image is really good. And I love the screen tones. So they're going to go ahead and look for her. And he says, "I'll be back." So off he goes. Again, great, good panel. Like I said, he's growing on me here. So, he's gonna check local motels here. I love this color TV back in the day here. And so these guys are noticing that all the cops are going to the electric plant. So they're gonna go do something because they're like, "Well, there's not gonna be anybody here." So they're going to rob. These two here are gonna rob a bank here. And so they're sticking them up. And then so this must be Rhonda and her new husband here. And he's a policeman here. And of course they shoot. And Iron Man hears it, so he's going through. And here is the dude. And Iron Man comes through. And I like this, "Iron Man!" And so he takes care of the gun, hits the guy. They hold her hostage. And he's like, "Man, I've got dozens of weapons in this suit, but and he goes, "I'm helpless." And then he goes, "No, I'm not." Again, look at these wonderful scream tones. And so he's going to try and use the repulsors. And he does, but he ends up, I think, hitting her as well. It looks like it. And so there's a doctor that they called in. And he says that the husband will be fine, and so will she. So Iron Man says if he can have a word with her. He tells her about Thunderball, and he asks if she could see her, and yes, if she would mind seeing her, and she's like, "I would mind." She's like, "That convict hounded me for months, made my life miserable until I found Ted. And now because of him, my husband was nearly killed." And he's like, "But he'll wreck the generating." And he's like, "I hope he does. And when he's done, I hope they catch him, throw him to the bottom of the deepest pit." And Iron Man is like, "Crud." And so he's not going to, of course, make her do that. That's not the whole point. So out goes Iron Man, and Tony's like, Jim is like, "I understanding why Tony Stark had his problems." So, all right. And so Tony's having a party already, throwing one there, and he's got all these people, and he's just drinking, kind of making a fool of himself here. And This is Heather here, that the lady that was with him. It turns out that this is Heather Glenn from the Daredevil. She was, I think, Matt's girlfriend here. And so she meets this guy, and they're like, "Hey, you came with Tony, but Tony's all passed out, so she's gonna go with this guy now." So, and everyone's like, the dude can't hold his liquor." So we're seeing Tony take not just fall, but take a really deep fall here. So back at the plant, Thunderball's yelling at Iron Man, "Why didn't he force her and whatever?" And Iron Man's like, "Well, she didn't want to come, so that's that." And so these two are gonna fight again. Clyde is gonna go up and get out of the way as the two of them begin a second altercation. You can see Thunderball throws the ball, misses, but it ricochets. Don't ask me how a ball. I don't know. Maybe it's like Mjolnir, and it just comes back to him. And so, yep, that's what it says. The ball obeys his thoughts here. So, and Rhodey's like, "Oh boy, I am in trouble." So, here he punches him, but he hits him back, and he is losing power here. And keep in mind, they're showing you these things here. The ball also takes away his energy. It kind of starts to absorb. So Kalai is going to turn on and off the lights here to let him know Morse code so that he hits the cable. And so he understands Morse code, which is he was in the military. And so he is going to power up. And then he's like, "All right, I'm ready to go." And throws the ball, grabs this thing, and just gets rid of Thunderball with one big hit. And then Morley and Clyde meet, and then we get our last panel here. Morley says, "Iron Man, you got to get back to Stark International. Tony has been arrested." And he's like, "Oh no." Next issue, Tony's Crime, a special guest star, and the triumph of James Rhodes. And so now issue 172 here, of course, guest starring Captain America. And then the villain of this issue is called Firebrand. So Iron Man probably didn't have very many really like A-list villains other than the Mandarin. It seems like, you know, only Spider-Man, I guess, gets the treatment here. So, all right, Firebrand's Revenge. And so we're in a museum where we see this guy here in a suit of armor, and then here comes the guards. I love it. Everybody pulls their guns. Same creative team here. And so they go to stop him, and they remove the helmet. Turns out it is Tony Stark here. And so this guy's like, "I hate these rich people here." And so he's sitting in the cell, and this guy is like, "Hey, you're Tony Stark." He's like, "Nope, I'm not him. I'm not Tony Stark." Good. And he goes, "Hey, there's you made bail." And so off he goes. And then when he comes out, the press. And I love how they're turning him more disheveled and hasn't shaved and everything. The press is in there, and he gets on a cab and he goes, "Can you take me to the nearest liquor store?" So, and now we are in Stark International, and he is playing a a, a baseball or softball. I don't know. We'll just say baseball here. And so he hits the ball, and then he goes and catches it here. And so this is a charity thing, the Stark people here. So off he goes. And so Morley asks him about the game. He says, "Oh, it went pretty well." He's using the game to kind of learn how to figure out more stuff. Morley is still impressed with the armor and how smart Tony is, and he's like, "Well, Tony's not here right now. I'm Iron Man, at least until Tony gets his act together." And Morley says, "And if he doesn't," he says, "he will. He's got to." So of course, they hear that he made bail, and Iron Man is called by Yvette Averill, who is the taking over Stark. And so he puts on his helmet because nobody knows other than Morley and Clyde who he is. And so he comes through, and then this is Mrs. Arbogast, Tony's secretary, and they're like, and then this is Vic, the security guy. They ask where's Stark, and they're like, who knows here? And they said Obadiah Stane is about 6 hours away from owning Stark International. He's managed to buy up every one of our debts, and we've got plenty of them. And the priciest legal talent in the state to push them. We've got one shot left. A writ that'll leash Stain for a week or two, but I need Stark's signature on it, notarized before 5 o'clock. My boys talked to a cabbie who dropped them somewhere between Chinatown and the Bowery. But after that, the trail got really cold. And Vic is like, do you have any ideas? He says, yeah, put me through to Avengers Mansion. Yes, Captain America. So Captain America is going to go look for Tony Stark. He's walking a place, of course, sees all these people here, and he feels guilty. Avengers 232, which I have not covered. He says, I shouldn't have left Tony, nor should I have lost my temper. I've got to find him for myself as well for Stark International. I never forgive myself if anything happened to him here. So, this guy calls Captain America, and so he says, hey, that fella you're looking for, he checked in there. He thanks him. He's a former soldier here. So, meanwhile, this is our bad guy here who sees Captain America. And he's all like, it's because of the establishment that these Boweries and places like these exist. So, regardless, here comes Iron Man. He's gonna go in there, and then this guy says, I'm retired, but I really should do something. So here he is. That's gonna be our villain here. Takes a drink and off he goes. So all right, back at Stark International, and the CEO is like, if we don't get him in the next hour, it's bye-bye company. And then Vic is like, people just spotted Captain America going into a Bowery. So he says about what a horrible place that is. So Iron Man's gonna go and check it out, and he's like, what are you doing, to the VP? And she's like, well, checking the employment ads. So all right, so Captain America finds Tony. And he's like, what do you want to talk about? The weather. And of course, Cap is going to give him the speech that I'm not going to really go through with it. We all know that the speeches we try to give people when they're in trouble, that people just don't listen. You can see Tony taking a swig here. So Cap asks him why, and he's not doing anything. He slaps the bottle out, and Tony's like, what are you going to do, beat me up? And he goes and crawls back to the bottle here, and Cap walks out on him and says, Tony, what you say is not new to me. My father, rest his soul, was an alcoholic. We try to help him, but the man has to want to be helped. Let me know when you do. It is very true. Although it's a disease, so it's at this time people were really unaware of the, it's not that easy to quit things. So all right, Captain America is going out. He smells smoke, and turns out that this dude is burning down this Bowery here. And down goes Captain America, and he's gonna take it to him, and sees all the people here, including Tony, so he needs to go and rescue them. And so here he grabs Tony, and Iron Man has shown up here, and he says, do you need help? He says, I don't, but the people inside do, so go help them out. So off he goes, and he's using some of the stuff like fire extinguishers that are in his boots here try and help people here. And so he leads all these people out to the staircases here, and he thinks of stuff to do. So he gets this water tanks. Does New York still use these? I don't know. And so he is going to tear that out, and you can see he's being hit by that villain here, trying to prevent him using all that water here. And Iron Man ends up using it anyway, helping, and then the fire trucks have arrived here, and now he's gonna take on the firebrand here. You know, makes jokes about s'mores and stuff like that. You mocked me. Well, it's a C-list villain, so yeah, it's all right. And so you can see here that we are going to get into a bit of a fight because, hey, it is a superhero comic book here. And then the two fall into the river, and Iron Man gets him up here. Jim gives him to the police, and he's like, establishment pig. So Cap rescued the last of them here, and they're like, hey, let's go talk to Tony. And they're like, hey, we need you to sign stuff. Turns out this isn't Tony. Tony gave him his clothes, and Cap is like, I can't believe we let him trick us. So they're gonna try to find Tony, but there is Tony already fallen into those depths here. And so we are getting into the end of our issue here, and Jim Rhodes says, for Stark International, I'm afraid it's too late, says the VP. In 30 seconds ago, legal action became impossible. That means Mr. Stark is and the Vegas like finished. Judging from what I've seen of him lately, he's finished in every other department too. And of course, here comes Obadiah Stane. You judge correctly, Mr. Martinelli. Permit me to introduce myself. I am Obadiah Stane, your new boss. I actually love this thing here. So that is the end of this issue, but that is a nice pose here. So, and so Iron Man 173, the taking of Stark International. And look at this, from Stark to Stane, and we've got just rock bottom already. His Tony has lost his company, and this is a very cool cover. I like it here. Very poignant here. So Judas is a woman, and same creative team. So we got Tony here, and these gang of thugs here kind of are gonna cause some trouble. They're like, do you think he's got money? They're like, no, but he's got clothes. So, and then they ask his name. He tells them Tony, and they're like, oh, that's funny. And so they start beating him up, and this guy's gonna shoot here, and you see the blam. Turns out that it's somebody that shot his hand, and they're like, get away. The next one's gonna go between your eyes. They get him. They go to a hotel. They're gonna sober him up here. He even has a nice little Mercedes limousine that is gonna take him, and they're again trying to sober him up. He gets there, and of course Obadiah Stane wants him to see this here, and he goes significant and symbolic. Behold, and we see Stane International here. And he's like, I would like you to toast with me. And he's like, whatever. And he takes the drink here. And all of Stark's people are resigning. They're not going to work for him. He goes, this is more than just a company. It's a team of people. And without the team, it's not the same company. And he's like, hey, you're all trespassing. Get off my property. Mrs. A is like, I can't believe you're doing this to yourself. And goodbye. She's crushed. And Obadiah says, get out of here, Stark. And Stark's like, your car left. And he's like, getting you here was my problem. Getting you going away is your problem. And here comes Jim. And he's like, you're really rotten, aren't you? Rotten, I prefer to call it triumphant. So, uh, Iron Man is leaving, and Obadiah says, "I have a proposition for you." And Jim says, "Not interested." And he says, "Not even if it means the recovery of Tony Stark." And he's like, "Okay, you got my attention." And Obadiah says, "As you know, my associate Indris Mumji aided in Stark's return to alcoholism. It is not reasonable to assume that she might be able to persuade him to stop drinking." And Iron Man says, "Would she?" And Obadiah's like, "She might if you rescued her." And he goes, "From what?" And he says, "The Sister of Ishtar, a freelance espionage group which is holding her in a desert fortress. I can supply you with the full information, including maps." "Suppose I buy into your proposition. What then?" says Iron Man. "I instruct Indris to do what she can for Stark." And Rhodey starts to walk away, and he says, "Okay." And so he catches up to Stark, and he's going to actually take him to his mom's place and set him up in a room to see if she can help him out for a little bit. And so he hangs out with his mom for a little bit, thanks her for what she's doing for him, and he's going to go. I love that. It is just everything out of the suitcase. It still cracks me up. And so off he goes to go find Indri. So he's gonna go into the desert here and finds what it is. He's gonna bust inside, and this is a great panel, by the way. This is just phenomenal here. And so there's all these traps to try and get him, or stuff to so he doesn't proceed. And um, these are like, "He's penetrated our perimeter, Indris." And she says, "We knew he would. Yes, we should be grateful for him. He's giving our defenses most thorough testing. However, the missiles should stop him. And if they do not, the vortex injuries. Remember the vortex." So off he goes, Iron Man, and he's like, "Uh oh." And here come the missiles, and he gets them out of the way, and very cool stuff as he's coming into his own. And so it hits the wall. I love the screen tones being applied here, and sees these cables being here, and he's going to use that to replenish his power because it was almost out. And so now he's continuing into the tunnel, and he comes through, and here is Indris, and nice panel, and she's like, "Man, this girl is so pretty." And so he walks toward her, but he falls through. It was a false bottom. And so it's actually going into the center of the earth, where there's all this magma. He uses the repeller to get back up. Nice panels here. And then he gets to, it's coming up on him, and he's gonna have to try and get through. And he uses some of the stuff that Irwin taught him, and he goes through that door, and he grabs Indris. The ladies block the exit, and Iron Man is like, "Get out of the way." And so off they go, and he says, "Obadiah hired me." Oh, sorry. He asked about Tony, and she goes, "Well, he hired me, as he uses every person and everything. He used her against Tony Stark, among others, but Tony Stark was the prime objective." And he goes, "Exactly who you are." And she goes, "A female who has been trained from early childhood to be alluring, to be the perfect object of a man's dream, any man. A female whose face and body were altered by surgery, who was given artificial alluring enhancing pheromones to make her irresistible, who was educated at the finest psychologists and the finest universities to become the perfect object of desire." And she goes, "Do you not find me so?" And he goes, "Indris, if I weren't wearing this metal skin, I'd still be able to resist you. Sorry to disappoint you, kiddo. Get in the airplane." And so she looks, and then she laughs because somebody actually told her no. And so she lets her know that she wasn't kidnapped. She was actually running away from Obadiah. And there go, "I didn't make him drink. Tony Stark drinks simply because he has never really decided not to drink." So They get there, and Iron Man decides to let her go, because Obadiah wanted her back, and he knew that her with Obadiah's influence would be terrible. And so he goes and says, I let her go. And Obadiah says, you'll regret this. And he says, remind me to worry when I got nothing else to. Chew on this a while. You lost this round. It isn't a very big round or a very important round, but you lost it. And you know what I think? I think it's the beginning of a trend. And so they call his mom, and Tony ended up leaving. And she feels sorry for him, and she hopes that she is able to, or that he is able to recover. So that is the end of this issue. 174. Great cover here, actually. Really good cover. All the different armors. This is why I think the Silver Centurion armor was so cool, because it went beyond that red and yellow that mostly was his armor. So, Armor Chase, same creative team. And Stain here says, you heard me, Iron Man. Your armor belongs to me. Remove it now. And so, here we go. As I mentioned, same creative team. And Rhodey's like, Stain, I never did believe that you were a model of mental health, but I never thought you owned the biggest mansion in Wacko City. You hear me, Obadiah, old buddy? And Obadiah's like, you accuse me of insanity? You are mistaken. And so basically he's telling him, I own everything that was Stark International, and you're an employee. And he goes, nope, I quit. And he goes, yep, you may have quit, but the armor still belongs to the corporation. And Rhodey says, who my tin suit belongs to is for something for lawyers to settle. It stays with me until they do, and maybe after that, unless you want to take it off me. And Obadiah just stares at him. I didn't think so. So, bye, Obi, and he just busts through there, the window, and he's like, a little childish, but it felt wonderful. And so here comes Mrs. A. He says, give me, get him Martinelli and a repair crew. She gives him a 2-week notice. He says, hire somebody else, but I'll stay with you. He offers to double his salary, and she goes, I'm not tempted, but I'm sure you'll find someone else like me here. Now we're in a SHIELD helicarrier, and so now that Fury's being told, that Stain's now in charge, and he's like, great, all those armors with that maniac, we need to get them. So they're going to plan to steal them. So here comes Rhodey to go into they're going to try and get the armors, or the blueprints or something, all of Tony's old armors. But here comes the Knight, I believe, is, and so he attacks Rhodey here. Rhodey was trying to get in there first, so this is why it's called Armor Chase here. So we can see a little back and forth going here. This guy's like, this job sucks. All we do is, pick up after these people here. And again, they back and forth here. And the guy watches is like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll stay here. So, but he's impressed by Obadiah's security in there. And so here's Martinelli, and he's like, I'm not quitting. So go ahead. And these guys are repairing the hammer. That's awesome. And so Mrs. A is like, how can you work for him? And he's like, I got people to, a family to feed, and it's not like I can get other jobs out there. And, it's a job, and if it makes you feel better, I don't like Obadiah Stane, but I don't have to. So, and she's like, oof. And so Morley here figures out that Stain is after the armors to sell them as weapons. And he says, imagine an army of Iron Men. And so Rhodey's like, we need to destroy all those armors. And so there's a huge lock, so these guys need to break it. And so it's going to take them 2 hours here. And then here's Tony, all drunk, just living in the streets here, or in this hostel. And so and Shield is like, we need those armors, and Sitwell is like, it's not legal, we can't do this, and Fury's like, I don't care, go get them. So, and Nick Fury's like, maybe they'll, my head will probably roll, but of course it probably won't here. So, and so Yvette Averill is there to see him. He says, send her in. She's the VP, and she walks, says, I quit, and walks out. And then he's like, find me Rose and Irwin. So here we go. So he can't, Rhodey can't just go through because he'll have to fight the Knight. So he's going to take this vehicle that was created by Stark, and he's just going to go underneath to see if he can get those armors here. So it's like a drill thing. And so here's Sitwell, and he's still protesting. He's like, we can't just do this, but, and Fury's like, it's an order. So, all right. And here comes Rhodey. He goes out and digs. And so he's trying to take as much stuff as he can. The door's open. So here comes the Knight. And off they go. Sitwell's gonna try and help Rhodey because they need the distraction, and you can see here he is going to use a backup plan here, and you can see that he is doing something here with the other armor, and the Knight grabs him. So what he's basically giving us like little remote controls to use, put those on those armors so that he can, what is the word? Hack in and get them. And so this thing now kind of blows up, and he's like, darn. So here come the armors, and he's making sure now that these armors are going to not fall into anyone's hands. Here comes the Knight, and Rhodey pretty much dispatches him pretty quickly here. And look at this. Just boom, boom, boom. Pretty cool. Takes him, and he goes, you're going to need an upgrade. These things aren't working anymore. And he threw them in the ocean. And Obadiah says, you think yourself clever. Be not deceived. I did not acquire Stark International merely to obtain your secrets. As best that would have been a fringe benefit. You have merely taken a gambit. You have not won the game. And Rhodey's like, mister, I don't intend to win your game because I don't intend to play. You got the wall repair, huh? And then he was about to, and then he just decides, nah. And he walks out the door. And so he is with Morley here, but there is a call that comes through. He lets him, it's Nick Fury. He says, I had hacked into that frequency years ago. He says that, that you had the armor taken into the ocean. Those are international waters. I'm going to claim them under international salvage laws. Fury says, once before you refused to trade with me. This time I ain't got a choice. I hate to play rough. But I got a job to do. We'll pay you what we think the stuff is worth. And Rhodey's like, not unless you have it to sell, and you won't, Fury. That's a promise. Next issue, Iron Man versus Shield. And so the final issue of this video, Iron Man 175. This was going to be really, really quick. This one, basically what we're gonna have here is Iron Man is going to get the armors, or destroy them so that Shield doesn't get them here, and we have Atlanteans here. So, all right, this treasure of red and gold, same credits. So we got Shield here, and they're like, don't take this. This hasn't been tested. And Nick Fury's like, what'd you call this flying bathtub? And it's called the Splash. And of course, it's all these things here. I gotta love it here. And Nick Fury's like, whatever, I'm off to go get it. And so we get a little recap of the armors being in the international waters here. And he's looking at the radar and he goes, this is strange. And so now we're an hour earlier, and basically Jim Rhodes is thinking the same thing, like, gotta get those armors, can't let that technology fall on the wrong hands. So he puts on the helmet and off he goes. Meanwhile, we're in Atlantis here, or some kind of Atlantean, I don't know, another one. And so they tell him about the wreckage, and so he's gonna go, and here's Nick, and he sees Iron Man, and Nick's like, I gotta get rid of him, so he shoots him with the laser, and Rhodey's like, oh, jerk. And so he's insulated, so he gets him back, and so Nick Fury and Iron Man are gonna go at it for a little bit here, and very different way, very nice way of the clouds here with ink splashes, or not splashes, but ink lines going one way or another here. So he goes in, and like I said, this issue is gonna go really quick here because it's essentially both of them trying to get the armors, but at the same time, the Atlanteans are also there. By the way, underwater, it doesn't look that bright. The deeper you go, the darker it gets. So, all right, and so again, not important here. It's a pretty simple story here. So, all right. There's really not a lot. A lot of this writing is sort of just saying things that are related to, what they're doing and the why. So, as I mentioned, this video won't take too long, and of course, as he's fighting, he actually goes to them, and they're like, these jerks are firing on us. How dare they? So, and now the Atlanteans goes, and here they go get the armors. This is actually kind of cool here. So look at a chest of, and so they take a look, and jewelry, and he's like, worthless. So, all right, and Nick Fury thought he killed Iron Man here. So, and so they says the Atlanteans are here as well. So he realizes it's getting hard to breathe here. A little bit got damaged. He's running out of oxygen, so he's got to go outside. Hey, we're not even going to try. This is a nice panel. Anyway, they're not even going to try to decompress here. So, all right, comic books. And so Morley and Cly are talking about the events of the previous issue here. Anyway, he keeps calling her sis, and she says, I'm not your sis, I'm your sister. And so, anyway, they keep going about how the remote controlled, and they dumped them in the ocean here. So, Iron Man's calling Irwin and asks how to recharge the oxygen tanks, and he says, if you're out of the water, it should happen automatically. So, and so he explains to them what's going on with everybody trying to get it. And so And he says he broke off the transmission before I could tell him. And so Irwin contacts Shield, which contacts Nick Fury, and he's gonna try to tell him something, but then Iron Man is still gonna just keep going at it. And so Irwin still hasn't said what he has to say here, but we'll get to that in a moment here. And so Iron Man, here we go. Like I mentioned, it's a simple story, and you need one of these when you have a big run here. Or a long run, which Denny O'Neil definitely had. And so I think Irwin is in this craft here. All right, and so here we go. Again, they're like, worthless. Just and so Iron Man hits him, and now they're gonna all fight here. And so what it is that the remote control stuff is still attached to them. And so once they get in range, he's going to look at this. So this is what they mean here. And suddenly, once he's in range, he uses the thing, and off they go. And they can't breathe, so they have to take the armor off. And he's like, "We'll meet again," and which they don't. Anyway, Iron Man goes and gets them. And so now that they're there, he blows them all up, which makes you wonder, how does Tony still get these old armors? Because they've been destroyed so many times here. And so we get to the last panel, kind of just a quick ending here, just a panel here. All right, so now they're gonna go up, and Nick Fury says, "I was wrong, Shellhead. You ain't lost your touch. You just changed it." So, all right, so this concludes our video. So, Iron Man 171, 172, 173, 174, and 175. 5 issues here. So, I hope you liked it. I do apologize that I'm not really reading them the way that you're probably used to it. It's just some of these videos are going to be extra long, and it's easier to just give you an abridged, more a narration kind of thing. And hey, get the issues or get the trades. These are collected in the Epic. There's a few epics that collect the 2 runs. There's a 3rd epic that hasn't come out that'll cover the end of the Denny O'Neil run, but that hasn't come out yet. But anyway, like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.